Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. And would like to say thank you for joining us. And if you can hear us, please go ahead and type yes in the chat so that we know that you can hear us. So we just want to say thank you. Please type yes in the chat so that we know that you can hear us. And then we can just thank you very much, Demilade. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Tosin. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, perfect. So today, of course, as usual, promises to be very educative. Okay, yes. And today is the part B of the second module. Okay, and you are welcome. So we are, as usual, streaming on our website and streaming on Facebook. Okay, and I would like to encourage you to tell your friends and your families to please join in. Also, remind your friends, okay, that you've already told before, and tell them the session is starting up. Okay, perfect, great. And as usual, after today's session, there is going to be the replay email that will be sent to everybody, and it will be sent out by tomorrow. And in that replay email, you're going to get the videos for all the previous sessions. Okay, so please look out for the email. And if you don't get the email as usual, just shoot us an email so we can get right back to you with the videos. And then I'd just like to encourage you, as usual, to please make sure you're working on your workbooks, make sure you are implementing, because the joy and on our the what we want is for everyone to become entrepreneurs, to become independent, especially in these times of COVID. Okay, so then at the end of this session, there's going to be the question and answer session. I'd like to encourage you to go ahead and type in your questions even as the session progresses. Okay, so you don't have to wait to the end of the session. Just start, if the question comes to you, type it in, and at the end of the session, Dr. Mike is going to address every question. Okay. Thank you one more time for joining us. So for the sake of those that are joining us for the first time, we'd like to introduce ourselves and what we are about. So at P2 Consulting Limited is a performance improvement organization that helps individuals and organizations evaluate the success of projects and programs by utilizing the return on investment methodology. We do this by providing workshops, consulting, coaching, keynote presentations, and benchmarking services. Dr. Mike Adebi is the CEO of IP2 Consulting firm. He has over 27 years experience in security, leadership, training, information technology, nonprofit organization, and business consulting services. Dr. Mike has a PhD in organizational leadership with specialty in human resource development from Regent University in the USA. He is also an alumni of Harvard Business School, where he obtained his certificate in business analytics. He is currently an associate professor at Wheeler Heights University, Department of Leadership Studies in Atlanta, Georgia. So I present to you Dr. Mike. You're welcome, Dr. Mike.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Or good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're watching us from. We know that the network has been somehow today. So if you can hear me clearly, I would love for you to say yes, just as Ejiro also requested, so that I'm sure that everybody is hearing me. Kindly just chat yes if you can hear me, so that I'll be sure you're hearing me. Okay, thank you. That'd be Taluda Biolua, Olukayode, thank you. Justina, thank you. So I'm glad everybody is hearing me. I welcome you to part 2 of module 2. It's going to be an interesting session today, like Jiro has stated. This is a very technical, easy but technical aspect of developing your business idea into business plan. And I would like for everyone to pay keen attention to what we'll be sharing today, because once you master this aspect we're going to share today, I think module 2 is pretty much good to go. And being able to develop it to a business plan is a very critical aspect of business success. Like I stated 2 weeks ago, trying to start a business without a plan is like trying to build a house without a building plan. All right, so this is a very important aspect. But before we dive into it, I would love for you to share with your friends, your colleague, your old schoolmates, your contemporaries, your neighbors. Just share, share, and let people join us. We're streaming on Facebook, and I believe YouTube. I'm not too sure the technical people if we're doing both YouTube and Facebook today, but I know you can also join from our website. So please share with others and let them be a part of what we're doing today. All right, so at the end of today's session, I expect that participants will be able to list elements of strategic plan. We'll be able to conduct SWOT and tools analysis and develop and document strategic action plan as a system. Don't forget that this particular workshop is in 4 modules. The first module is generating business ideas. The second module is developing it into a business plan, which is what we're handling right now. We're going to round up on second module today, and then we'll move to the third module 2 weeks from now, and then we'll end up fourth module down the line. We talked business plan in the first part of module 2. Module 2A was about business plan. Module 2B, which is what we're doing today, is about strategic plan. Now, there's a difference between business plan and strategic plan. Business plan talks about the 8 components which we discussed, excuse me, which we discussed 2 weeks ago. 8 components of business plan. That's the executive summary of the business, the description of the company, the product and the services you intend to offer, the market you're targeting, the market plan you have to enter the market, your operations, your management team, and your financials. So basically, business plan, gives a lot of information about the business, the various aspects of the business. That is what business plan will provide, detailed information about these 8 components of the business. Whereas strategic plan is the process of documenting and establishing a direction of your small business, a direction of your small business, a roadmap of your small business, track, mapping of your small business. While business plan provides detailed information about the 8 aspects, the strategic plan is actually more of a roadmap, a direction, to go. So that's the basic difference between strategic plan and the business plan. So today we're looking at the strategic plan. And in looking at strategic plan, I wanted to find out, how many of us online right now, have had experience of developing and working with a strategic plan. Or maybe you've never developed and worked with one, you've only worked with it, you've never developed a strategic plan. or you've never developed, neither have you ever worked with a strategic plan. Which statement applies to you? I would love for the technical room to pull up the poll question for us. Let me have an idea of the audience that we're dealing with today. If you have developed and worked with a strategic plan, or you've worked with a strategic plan but you've never developed one, or you've never developed and you've never worked with one, let me know which statement applies to you. Okay, I have never developed and I've never worked with a strategic plan. Seems to have the most respondents. Okay, some of us have worked with but never developed. Few of us have developed and worked with. Okay, the poll is still ongoing. The numbers are changing. All right, majority, about 66%, have never developed and have never worked with a strategic plan. That's good to know. This session will obviously be very, very educative for you. About 30% of us have worked with, but we've never developed. That's also interesting to know. And about 18% have developed and worked with it in the past. This would be like a refresher time for those few ones. All right, so let's end the poll here and then we move forward. I want to first of all play a short video for you that Karen made. Karen Olsen made this short video. I kind of like her own approach to developing a strategic plan. She has four steps, ADBM model to assess the situation, design the plan, build it, and then manage it. I brought her own perspective before I share my own perspective for you to know that there's not just one perspective to developing strategic plan. It's a creative, dynamic, field, and you can use as many approaches as possible as far as it is workable and it is productive. So listen to Erica's approach carefully, and then I will come after her to bring in my own approach of developing a strategic plan. So I'll ask the technical department to please play the short video from Erica. I think it's about 3 or 4 minutes thereabout.
Hi, my name is Erica Olsen. Today's whiteboard video is an overview of the strategic planning process. Instead of going through a bullet-pointed list, we'll do it in the form of an illustration. To orient ourselves, I want to outline the 4 phases of the process over here: assess, design, build, and manage. The phases of planning are assess, designing, and building, and we spend a couple of months per year doing that. We spend the rest of the year managing the performance and the execution of our plan. Oftentimes we get into execution and we're not exactly realizing the results that we want, in which case we go back into some parts of the planning process, sort of rinse and repeat. Today's video is going through the whole process, but sometimes you just may pick pieces of it. So let's jump in. Great strategic plans start with understanding where we are today, assessing the current state. Point A. We do that by gathering external perspective, opportunities and threats, and internal perspective, strengths and weaknesses. And we summarize all that information into a SWOT analysis. And as a little asterisk, we have detailed whiteboard videos on each point today, so if you need to dig deeper, check those out. So once we're clear about where we are today, we can move into the second part of our process, which is designing the strategy, starting with our mission statement. Our mission statement is a square here because great mission statements tell us what's in and what's out. Why do we exist as an organization? What's our core purpose? And then by default, what's not? With clarity on our mission, we can move to casting our vision or our future state. Strategic plans are all about moving organizations from where we are today to where we want to be in the future, and that's what our vision statement does for us. It tells us where we want to go. The rest of our plan builds a roadmap from today to tomorrow, starting with a couple of things that help us answer how will we succeed, our competitive advantages, and our long-term organization-wide strategies. These come in different names, but let's just use the analogy and the visual to keep us grounded. These help guide, they act as an umbrella over our entire plan to make sure that we're building a plan that we can succeed and be successful and be competitive with. So with that guideline in place, we can move to building our framework. Our long-term strategic objectives are our framework. Again, there are different names for this. Let's just use that for today. I like to see them in 4 categories because we want a holistic framework. We want to make sure that our plan covers our financial perspective, our customer perspective, our operational and internal perspective, and our people perspective. Less than 6 is a pretty good idea when you're looking at your framework because we're going to cascade the rest of the plan from these. From there, we're ready to move into the next phase, which is building our plan. That looks like starting with our goals, our corporate goals, and we're using the word goals to articulate quantifiable, outcome-based statements. Where do you want to be in year 1, and year 2, and year 3? And most of the time, we use key performance indicators to help guide us along the way. So we like our corporate goals, and again, we're going to cascade from our strategic objectives. We like our corporate goals to be SMART. SMART's a great acronym to make sure that you have good, quantifiable, outcome-based goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Once we have our corporate goals in place, a couple per each long-term strategic objective, we're ready to move into annual operating plans. And that looks like building goals and cascading into each level of the organization. So that looks like corporate goals being cascaded into department goals, and department goals being cascaded into individual contributor goals. Once we've cascaded it down that far, we have a plan. And we're done with the 3rd phase. So now we have a plan. Now what? We want to move into managing execution because nobody wants to build a plan that sits on a shelf. So there are 3 things you have to have in place to effectively execute. Number 1, people. You need to make sure that every person in your organization has an individual action plan that expresses ownership and accountability for what they need to get done by when. And with that matters because all the rest of this is just on paper if we're not clear about that very specific piece. The second thing is we need to make sure that we have a system in place to track and manage performance. A software system, spreadsheets, whatever it looks like, you're going to gather a lot of data on a monthly or a quarterly and annual basis. You need a place to put that, and everybody needs to be working on the same system. The third thing is process. You need to schedule at least monthly or quarterly reviews of your performance because without that review, all the rest of this is just, again, good ideas on paper. So with that, that's an overview of the strategic planning process. Subscribe to our channel. Happy strategizing.
So, okay, I have my microphone off when she was speaking, and I have my microphone back on now. And again, I would like to check to make sure you're all hearing me before I go too far. So can you please chat yes if you can hear me? Can you please chat yes if you can hear me? Can anybody hear me? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, very good. So there are critical points that she mentioned that I would like for you to pay attention to. When she was talking about people, process, that you need to put in place at the end, she was using the word systems. System, a process for the people and a process, a system for the people and a system for the process and so on and so forth. So that word system, I want you to pay attention to that as we move forward, because it will become a critical word at the end of this session. All right, so now I have 8 elements of a strategic plan that I want to share with you. Remember, she shared 4. That is to assess the situation, to design, to build, and then to manage. Now, my approach of a strategic plan is the approach of a journey. I want you to imagine a journey from point A to point B. For example, as we're on now, sharing with one another, imagine if I ask all of you to please drive to my house or to where I am now for a live workshop of the next module. So, okay, you have to drive to where I am for the next module. So let's see the strategic plan for this journey. So let's look at this journey from where you are to where I am as we go through these 8 steps of the strategic plan. So number 1 is to identify and describe the destination point. In other words, you should be able to identify my home address and describe what my house looked like. So when you get here, you should know which point you are coming to and what you should look like when you get here. What it should look like when you get here depends on what you are coming here to do. If you're coming here for a workshop, for instance, you should know where the point where you're coming. You should know my house address. And then what you should look like when you get here. You should be maybe officially dressed or formally dressed or something like that. And what should you have when you get here? Materials for workshop, maybe a laptop or something like that. But if I say you should all please come and celebrate my birthday with me, by the way, tomorrow is my birthday, everyone. Assuming I ask you all to come and celebrate my birthday with me, you will need the address of my house. And what will you look like when you get here? You'll probably be well dressed for a party. You don't need a laptop to come to a birthday party. You probably will come with maybe dancing shoes or maybe a little gift or something. So where you are going, the destination and what you will look like when you get there, it's very critical. And that talks about the vision and the mission. On the other hand, if I said, okay, because I'm having a birthday tomorrow, I want to hang out and play soccer game, American football game, and long tennis. So you not only will you need to know the address of my home where you're coming, you need to know what you should look like when you get here. You probably be dressed up in sport wears. Thank you for everyone wishing me happy birthday. I appreciate it. All right, so in a vision statement, the picture of the future, where do you want to be 2 years, 3 years from now, and what should you look like when you get there? So that's the first point. Identify and describe the destination point. The second point is identify and describe your starting point. Remember, you're coming to me from where you are. I know that MKO, for instance, is in London. I know where you are. You are in London. Dabi, you're in Nigeria, but you're in another state. So let's take example. Let's pick these 2 people that I recognize as an example. They know they are coming to the same point, which is my house. They need to know the address of my house, and what my house look like and what they should look like when they get here based on what they are coming to do. But then one of them is in Nigeria because, as you all know, I'm in Nigeria. I've been stranded here since March because of the coronavirus, issue. I've not been able to go back to US. So I'm in Nigeria, and I'm in Lagos in Nigeria. So Dabiolua will probably drive for about 2-3 hours to get to my house. But Mr. MKO cannot drive to me to where I am from London. So you can see that your starting point is very critical because that's going to determine what you need and what you don't need. All right. So the same thing with business. If this is where I want my business to be 2, 3, 5 years from now, so where am I today? Where is my business today? Am I just planning to start? Have I started? Or what stage is my business? What do I have and what do I not have? All right, Dabiolua could probably determine when he will leave because he has a car. So he can determine, okay, I will just leave very early and at 5 a.m. and start driving towards Dr. Mike's house. But maybe Mr. MKO may not have that flexibility of determining when he wants to leave because he probably does not have a private jet yet. Maybe in a couple of years from now, when he buys his private jet, he might have that flexibility of determining when he wants to take off. So you can see all these variables, come to play when you know where you are going, what you should look like when you get there, and where you are today. All right. So the first two elements are very critical. Where am I taking my business 2, 3, 5 years from now, and where is the business today? Very, very critical. The third point is identify all possible obstacles. Once you know the 2 points, identifying the obstacles will not be a problem. And then number 4 would be to draw the roadmap from where you are to where you are going. Some of you that are familiar with GPS, that the use of GPS, when you're about to leave your house and you pull up your GPS, it's going to ask you where you are going, and it's going to ask you where you are. Once you give the GPS the 2 information, the GPS will be able to identify the traffic light, heavy traffic, and he'll be able to chart a path, for you on how quickly you can get to where you are. So identify the possible obstacles, draw the roadmap, and then point number 5 is to document the roadmap logically and clearly. The GPS is going to show you exactly, the map, the direction, how you should move and all of that. It's going to show you as a map. It's not going to tell you I've drawn a map in my head, but you don't need to see it. No, the GPS will show you the map that you can follow. So the same thing here in strategic planning, you also document it that anybody who sees it will understand it and be able to follow it. Now, step number 6 is to identify the human resource requirement. Remember, Erica talked about people. Identify the human resource, requirement. If, Dabiolua is coming from Ogun State in Nigeria, he probably doesn't need a pilot. He doesn't need an air hostess. He doesn't need an airport. He doesn't need airport security. He doesn't need any of those stuff. He just probably need a driver. But, Mr. MKO that's coming from the UK probably will require an airline, a ticketing office or travel agent, or he will need a bank, he will need airport taxi and all the 9 yards. So the human resource requirement will be different based on where you are going and where you are coming from and what you are going to do when you get there. So you know who to hire, who not to hire. What kind of business are you running? So what kind of human resource will you require to get there? And then number 7 will be to implement the plan following the 4D of implementation. A lot of businesses fail at the point of implementation. We're going to deal with that a whole lot. And then the last point will be to measure and evaluate and manage your performance as you go. So you can see that, it's a little bit, elaborate, but trust me, if you can follow these 8 steps in developing your strategic plan, your plan will be almost 80 to 85% ready for success when you implement it. This is where the work is. Developing that plan, that's where the work is. Implementing and managing it is not as difficult as putting it into a plan. So I'll go over it again. Number 1, identify and describe your destination. Number 2, identify and describe your starting point. Number 3, identify all the possible obstacles between the 2 points. Number 4, draw a roadmap and navigate and negotiate around those obstacles till you get to your starting point. Number 5, document, the roadmap logically and clearly that anybody can read it and understand it and follow it. Number 6 is, know the human resource that is required to carry out, and follow this roadmap. Then number 7 is implement the plan. Go ahead and do it. And then number 8 is measure and evaluate as you go. Element number 6 and 7 will be discussed in module 3. And the element number 8 will be discussed in module 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is what we're going to be looking at today. All right, so let's get in deeper and explain, each of them a little bit more, at least the first 5 ones. Let's see how we can go deeper to understand them a little bit more. The first one is identifying and describing your destination point, which talks about vision. All right. Vision. What is the picture of your business 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now? And what will it look like when I get there? Clearly identify your destination. That talks about vision. Where are you going and what will it look like when you get there? In other words, if success was to be a place, how will you know when you get there? Somebody said, if you don't know where you are going, you might end up anywhere. Imagine if Mr. MKO gets to the airport in London and they said, where are you going? Remember, he's coming to my house, right, for the next module. And he gets to the airport and they said, where are you going? Or he calls the travel agency and they said, where are you going? He said, I want to purchase a ticket. They said, to where are you going? He said, I don't know. So the journey is beginning to fail from the start point. If you don't know where you are going, you can end up anywhere. Assuming he knows where he's going, and he said, okay, I'm going to Lagos to meet Dr. Mike, and they said, oh, where are you traveling from? He said, I don't know where I am. That's a big problem. As laughable as these scenarios may look, it's a common occurrence in the world of business. A lot of people, you ask them, where do you see this business 3 years, 4 years from now? They cannot tell you. So I've not even started the business. You're asking me where it will be in 3 years, 5 years. Oh yeah, but if you cannot see 3 years, 5 years from now, honey, the business is beginning to fail. So the vision and also the mission, mission statement is how to get there. How do I move from where I am to where I want to be? You should have that picture in your head in a pictorial format, the vision statement and the mission statement. As a matter of fact, crafting vision and mission statement is a workshop on its own. It's not something that, that you just, come by, like that. A lot of people, I look at the vision and mission statement of a lot of, companies, and I see that they really do not understand what vision and mission statement means. They just think maybe it's just one of the documentation that is required. I just have to write it. No, that's the soul of your business. That's the soul of your business. So it's a separate workshop, and if any of you, are interested in the in that workshop, you can indicate, and we can maybe arrange that workshop and take you through. So the first step is the vision and the mission statement. Let's look at the vision and mission of Google, for instance, to provide access to the world's information in one click. That's the vision of where they want to see themselves. They want to be able to provide access to world information in one click. That's the vision. That's the picture. But how are they going to get that done? That's the mission. We're going to get that done by organizing the world information and make it universally accessible and useful. You can see three elements in their mission statement on how. Number one, we're going to organize the world information, yes. We're going to make it universally accessible, that is anywhere in the world, anybody can access it. Number three, we're going to make it useful. Look at those three elements in their mission statement. If you just read this mission statement, carelessly, you may not pick anything out of it. But for somebody who understands how to develop strategic plan, for somebody who understands the components of a mission statement, you'll be able to pick the three actionable words in their mission statement. The first actionable word is organize. How do we organize world information? That organization is a big task to be able to accomplish, information organization. Number two, they said we're going to make it universally accessible. In other words, everybody or anybody in any part of the world must be able to access it. Number three, we're going to make it useful. If it's not useful, people won't waste their time to go and look for it. So you'll see organization, accessibility, and usefulness. Those are the three actionable words in their mission statement. So this short statement is not just somebody came up and said, let's just write this as our mission statement. Now, these are three systems that they must develop, organization, universality, and then usefulness. These are three key, systems that must be developed, that must be working, for Google to succeed. By the time they do these three, successfully well, you will discover that they will have accomplished their vision, whereas, world information will be accessible at one click. So vision statement and mission statement, they may appear very short and simple, but crafting it requires a lot of technicalities, and we can go deeper, to that with you if you want to in a separate workshop on vision and mission statement. All right. So step number two is to know where you are, which is called initial assessment. That's the initial assessment. You have to know where you are today in order to draw an accurate map to your destination. And like the illustration I gave, if Mr. MKO is coming to my house from London, it's one thing for him to know where I live and what he's coming here to do, but he needs to know where he is starting from. He needs to know where he's starting from. So some of the people that joined from US on this workshop, they need to know they are living from Atlanta or from Houston. And somebody coming from London needs to know he's living from London. All right, so the starting point is very crucial. How do you do that? You do that by conducting what we call the SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis. SWOT means strength, weakness, threat, and opportunities. Strength and weakness, these are internal elements. Threat and opportunity, these are external elements. So for somebody, let's take Dabioloa as an example. He might sit down and say, okay, what's my strength? I want to go to Dr. Mike's house in Lagos. I'm in Nigeria with him, but I'm in another state, Ogun State. So what strength do I have? I have a car. That's a strength. And you can list several other strengths like that. I have a car. I can drive. I know Lagos Road. All of that will be strength. Weakness. Driver's license is expired. That's a weakness for him. Threat. There's going to be heavy rainfall, for instance. Opportunity. A friend came to visit, and also there's public holiday. So when there's public holiday, there's less traffic. A friend came to visit so he can do the driving. So you can list, your strengths, your weakness, your threats, your opportunities like that. If Mr. MKO from London wants to list his strength, I have a car will not be one of the strengths he will list. Well, I mean, he can list, I have a car, maybe at least to drive to the airport, but that's not going to bring him to Nigeria. All right. So this is how you conduct your SWOT analysis. Your strengths, your weakness, your threat, and opportunity. I just put this one there just as an illustration to give us an example of what that means. Let me see how many of us is familiar with SWOT analysis, and how many of us are familiar with TOES analysis, and how many of us are not even familiar with any of the above. Let's do that poll question very quickly. I'm familiar with SWOT analysis. I'm familiar with TOES analysis. I will explain TOES later, but let me know who and who are familiar. Or maybe none from above. Let's see what we are dealing with here. I'm familiar with SWOT analysis, 100%. Wow. Okay, so nobody's familiar with TOES analysis online today. Okay. All right. None of the above. Okay, some says none of the above. 93% said I'm familiar with SWOT analysis. Well, I just talked about SWOT analysis, so you're familiar already. You're familiar with SWOT analysis. All right. Good. So let's move forward. I will end the poll now. All right, so let's go ahead. Step 3. Step 1 is you know where you are going, which is Dr. Mike's house. Step 2, and knowing where you are going means crafting your vision and mission statement. Step 2 is initial analysis. Know where you are, which is I'm in Ogun State in Nigeria, or I'm in London, or I'm in US, or I'm in India. Know where you are. Then step number 3 is the strategic analysis. That is, you need to know the issues and challenges you will encounter on your way from point A, where you are today, to point B, where you are going, so that you could minimize surprises and be prepared for the speed bumps that are ahead. All right. So, for instance, for the Bioluwa that is in Nigeria, who only need to drive down to my place, he needs to identify the obstacle. Obstacle number 1, heavy traffic is likely to come up because there's going to be heavy rain. So heavy traffic will be one obstacle he needs to overcome. Another obstacle for him will likely be flood. This part of Lagos where I live is very close to the ocean. And at times, it gets flooded when there's heavy rain. Not like the hurricane kind of flood, but, flood that is big enough to obstruct traffic at times. We deal with that once in a while, a certain part of the year. All right, so obstacle number 3 could be police checkpoints. Remember, his driver license, has expired, and there are police checkpoints because of the restriction that is still, going on. There's curfew in some hours or some days just to restrict movement because of COVID-19. So assuming he identifies these 3 obstacles, that's step number 3. So identify the obstacle between where your business is today and where your business needs to be 3 years from now. Do you have financial obstacle? Do you have distribution obstacles? Do you have maybe infrastructural obstacles? There will be no road to move your goods and services. What are the obstacles that you need to overcome? You need to identify those obstacles. All right, so then step number 4, you now need to draw your roadmap. Now you know where you are going, you know where you are, you know the obstacles. Then draw your roadmap to walk around those obstacles. So because there will be heavy traffic due to rain, his strategy may be to leave before traffic builds. Leave very early. That could be the walk around of this one. Obstacle 2 is flood. So what would be your walk around? I would drive a truck. Drive a truck. This is supposed to be drive, not driver. Drive a truck. Obstacle number 3 is police checkpoints. Okay, how do you walk around this? Maybe you take back road or let my friend drive. he has driver license, so we just drive straight through the police checkpoint. The driver has a license anyways. So these are strategies to overcome these obstacles. So you will need to develop a detailed action plan to navigate, the drive from point A to point B. This plan should account for the roadblocks identified in step 3 and include directions for avoiding those roadblocks. How do I avoid traffic? How do I avoid flood? And how do I avoid police checkpoint? So that's the roadmap and your action plan to avoid, the obstacles. So that's step number 4. But how do you do that? Step number 4, how do you do that in reality? Remember the SWOT analysis that you did. TOES analysis is actually mapping your SWOT analysis. That's how you draw your strategy around the obstacles. So if you look at the strength that, let's take David for example. David said, I have a 4-runner car. Let's say his car is a 4-runner car. Although, his weakness that his driver license has expired. One opportunity he has is that a friend is visiting him. One threat he has is that there will be heavy rainfall. So for TOES analysis, if you see TOES is just writing SWOT, backward, SWOT and then TOES. So TOES is actually mapping your SWOT analysis. So here there's opportunity O1, there's opportunity O2, and there's strength S1, there's strength S2. In TOES analysis, you take opportunity O1, and how do I use it with strength S1? Then opportunity O1, how do I use it with strength S2? You now take opportunity O2, how do I use that with strength S1? Opportunity O2, how do I use it with strength S2? So you have O1, S1, O1, S2, O2, S1, O2, S2. This will be your TOES analysis. All right, so I pick one of it. For instance, O1, W1. What is O1? A friend is visiting with me. What is W1? My driver's license has expired. So how do I use this opportunity that a friend is visiting with me to mitigate against one weakness that I have, that my driver's license has expired? So I will come up with O1, W1 will be friend will drive. I have a friend that is visiting. It's an opportunity for me. I have a weakness. Driver license has expired. As far as this journey is concerned, going to Dr. Mike's house, one weakness I have is that my license has expired, but I have an opportunity that a friend is visiting. So therefore, I will use this opportunity to mitigate against this weakness by allowing my friend who has a driver's license to be the one that will drive me to Dr. Mike's house. So this is how you map each of these items. You map them, and then they become your TOES analysis. Now, each of these mapped, strategic action becomes your goal. It becomes the goal that you set. And each goal must be SMART. Remember, SMART goal, your goal must be specific. It must be measurable. It must be achievable. It must be realistic. It must be time-bound. So goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, as many goals as possible. If you look at here, you have 4, 4, 4, 4. So you're likely to have 16 goals come out of this TOES analysis. So each of those goals, you set them out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 16. And then you now break each of them down to actionable process like this. So for instance, if we take the first goal, I need to get to Dr. Mike's house by 10 a.m. on Saturday. All right. And that's why my friend would be the one to drive me to Dr. Mike's. That's the one I'm dealing with. So my friend will drive me to Dr. Mike's house by 10 a.m. on Saturday. That would be my goal number 1, for instance. My friend will drive me to Dr. Mike's house by 10 a.m. Then, so what will be the objective? if I want my friend to drive me to Dr. Mark's house by 10 a.m. on Saturday, then I need to convince my friend to drive me on Saturday. You know, I'm the one setting that goal. He's not aware yet. What if he says no? So I need to set up an objective for me that will help me achieve that goal. And the objective is to convince my friend to drive me on Saturday to Dr. Mike's house. What will be the task? The task will be that my friend and I will actually drive to Dr. Mike's house. That's a specific task. What will be the process? The process involved will be to get the car ready and also get ourselves ready. Wake up on time, take a shower, dress up, get the car ready, warm it. That's a process. All right. This process will help us to achieve this task of me and my friend driving to Dr. Mike's house. And this task will only happen if I have achieved this objective of convincing my friend to drive me. And if I accomplish this objective, then I'll be able to achieve the goal of my friend driving me to Dr. Mike's house by 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. So the process is to get the car ready, get ourselves ready. What will be the procedure? The procedure will be to drive through, Ikorodu Road to Third Mainland Bridge and then proceed to Lekki Bridge. This is the procedure. Proceed from point A to point B to point C to point D before we get to Dr. Mike's house. Those of you that are not joining from Nigeria, or you do not live in Lagos, you may not know exactly what this road, name of the roads mean, but just one point of the road to another point, one road leads to another, leads to another. What's the expected outcome? The expected outcome is to arrive Dr. Mike's house latest by 10 a.m. Latest by 10 a.m. Now, this is one of the most important elements of actionable process, expected outcome. All of these are activities. Okay, I convinced my friend. Yes, he agreed to drive me. All right, we actually, did the driving. We got the car ready. We got ourselves ready. We follow all this route and all of that. But what is our expected outcome? To arrive Dr. Mike's house latest by 10 a.m. And there are two things that can go wrong here. We can get to a house, a particular place, by 10 a.m., and that may not be Pastor Mike's house. Maybe we missed where we're going. Or we get to Pastor Mike's house by 10:30 a.m. and they've locked the gate. That's why expected outcome is very, very critical. A lot of times we get caught up with activity. We lose focus of the expected outcome. If by 10 a.m. Saturday morning we are not at Pastor Mike's house, the expected outcome has failed. So all of these activities have not yielded result. If we did not arrive at Pastor Mike's house, maybe we went to somebody else's house, that means our effort is not effective. If we get to Pastor Mike's house by 11 a.m., then all this effort is not efficient. That's the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. But that's a discussion for another day. All right, so human resource required a driver, which is a driver with a valid driver's license is all I need. And my friend is playing that role. So I have the human resource required. Mr. MKO, for instance, may need a driver, but he will also need a travel agent. He will also need airport security people to be there. He will also need a pilot. He will need air hostess. He will need, airport security officers in Lagos. He will need another driver from Lagos. You can see that where he's coming from will change the human resource requirement, significantly. Whereas Mr. Dabioluwa probably doesn't even need anybody. He may not even require anybody. If he has a driver license that is valid and he has a car, he can drive himself down to my house. Both of them are participants on this workshop, and they are both coming to my house. One would need almost 8, 9, 10 human resource, to get involved, and one does not even need a single person to get involved, based on where the person is coming from and the obstacle he needs to overcome. All right, so measurement and evaluation criteria. Departure time is very critical. If you depart late, you will get here late. Arrival time is also very critical. If you get here late, you've missed the point. So these are measurement and evaluation criteria, which is KPI. Then reward and consequences, or lunch and gas card, if you actually got here the time you're supposed to get here. Now, this may look like a lot of work, but hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is where the work of success lies. This is where the work of success lies. If you can successfully go through these 8 processes, we've gone through just 5, but if you can successfully go through these 8 processes, I can bet you that 95% of the time, the business you start will succeed. Very important. And these processes, these steps may look cumbersome, but they are not. Once you start doing it, you discover that it becomes part and parcel of you. Now, the final thing I want to discuss today is now you take each of these actionable process and develop it into a system. So you have to determine what is the input of this actionable process and what is the output. How do I control it? So output here becomes input here in the actionable process. And then what is the outcome of it? I control it. It becomes input here to actionable process 3. And then the output of the actionable process 3 is actually the final expected outcome. Then you look at the feedback you get from this expected outcome, if it is good or not. If it is not, then you start all over again. All right, if we take Mr. MQ as an example, what is the input that he needs, to start his journey? Maybe he needs his home address, he needs my address, he needs money, he needs a telephone to call travel agency. All of that will be input. He goes through all the process here. The output becomes a ticket, a flight ticket. So the flight ticket becomes an input to an airline. He calls an airline, I have a ticket, to Nigeria. What time are you flying? What airport are you flying out from? And all of that. The output here is that he's flown out of London, and that goes through the control. And flowing out of London becomes an input to the airport in Lagos. Where are you coming from? I'm coming from London. Do you have a visa? Yes. Do you have a ticket? Do you have a return ticket? Yes. And then so he's allowed into the airport in Lagos. That becomes an output for a transportation system to get to my house. All right. So this connectivity like this is what is called a system. So the final expected outcome is for him to arrive at my house. And then you see, did he arrive at my house by 10 o'clock? Or did he arrive late? Or did he arrive on that day or not? And then you end that and then start another process. So this is what is called developing a system, where the interconnectivity of each of those processes, where one is connected with another, and connected with another, then expected outcome. For instance, if human growth is the expected outcome that we want, human growth, then the person needs to eat right. So food going into your mouth and also oxygen. So food and oxygen will be expected outcome that goes into your body. The food gets digested. The nutrient from the food becomes an output, but it's now an input for the circulatory system. So the nutrient gets into the bloodstream. The blood gets it, to the necessary part of the body, and then collected the waste product. The waste product becomes an input to excretory system. Excretory system picks it and releases it out through the excretory organ. Okay. oxygen goes in through the lungs, all right, and then goes out to the blood. The blood sends it to all the organs and collect carbon dioxide from the organs. It becomes an output. The carbon dioxide is now released to the to respiratory organ again. Respiratory organs send it out as carbon dioxide. You see, so in the body there's the respiratory system, there's the digestive system, circulatory system, excretory system, skeletal system, nervous system. There's all these systems, they work independently, but they are interconnected. So in our business too, you need to know where you get your raw materials. Your raw materials is a system on its own. The raw materials come into your company. It goes into maybe purification and separation. That's another system. Then it goes to processes and production. Then from there it goes to packaging. Then packaging goes to warehousing. Warehousing goes to marketing. Marketing goes to sales. The money from sales goes back to purchase of raw materials. The raw materials come back to the organization. So you need to know all of this. All of this must be systems on their own, and they must be interconnected. It might sound as if I'm pouring a lot out on you today, but hey, that is what it takes to be a successful businessman and businesswoman. At first, approach like this or first encounter with information like this, it might sound overwhelming, but it is not overwhelming. These are simple processes, but you need to master them to become a successful businessman or businesswoman. We are here to help, walk you through these processes. We are here to navigate you. We are here to hold your hands through these processes to make sure that you succeed as a business owner, as a small business owner, so that you will, set yourself free from the bondage of serving, other people. Those who knows how to develop system like this, they reign. And those who cannot develop business like this, they serve them. I'm sure you've been hearing system around you. God created the world in systems. Atmospheric system, you know, uh, aquatic system, all manner of, systems that God created. The day and night is in a system. The sun revolves around the earth revolves in such a way that 12 hours is dark, 12 hours is day. And this system has been working continuously, you know, aquatic system, atmospheric system. God put all of those things in place. Human beings also develop systems, communication system, transportation system, educational system, political system, all these things as banking system, all these things are system. Who are the people developing these systems? Only 5% of people on earth knows how to develop systems. The remaining 95% are serving these 5%. All right, so you need to understand how to develop systems so that you can rule and reign and, remove yourself from the 95% that serves or that works system for those who develops it. It's not difficult, it's not overwhelming. We're here to walk you through and, trust me, all this workshop and all this information cost us a lot, to acquire this intellectual property. It cost us a lot to present it. To have a workshop, with you, a lot of people and we've been working on this for almost a week to make sure it's seamless and all of that. And we're doing all of this for free. Why? We just want to give back. We want to give back. We want to, see as many people as possible enjoy liberty and freedom, financial freedom. That's why we are doing this. We're happy to do it. We feel fulfilled doing it. But on your part, please, on your part, I want you to be also prepared, willing, and ready to put in what it requires from your own end to enjoy, the liberty and the freedom and break yourself loose from the slavery that system developers has imposed upon this whole world. So we are glad that we are able to do this, but I want to see the commitment on your own part, and we'll be encouraged to give more, to do more, give more of our time. Time is life. Time is the most valuable resource apart from our life. So but when we see the commitment from your own end, then we're also encouraged to give more. What am I expecting at the end of this? Why am I doing this? Somebody will ask, what is the need for you? What is in need for me is that you get, this knowledge, this understanding, you become successful, and you are able to also impact the life of somebody else. That is what is in need for us in this team. We want you, number one, to be able to achieve your own financial freedom. We want you to be able to achieve your liberty. And then we want you to be in position to now give back to somebody else, out there. And if you do your part and I do my part, this world will gradually become a great place where impact and legacy is left behind, and generations after us will not suffer what some of us have suffered or what some of us are suffering. All right, so I'm going to stop here today, and I will turn it over to the technical people and Mr. Jiro to facilitate the interactive session. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mike. As usual, that was so loaded and super educative. So we're going right to the question and answer session. So please, if you have questions, please go ahead and type in your questions in the chat. For those on YouTube, type in your questions also in the chat. And those on Facebook, please type in your questions in the chat. And Dr. Mike will get right to your questions. So first of all, Dr. Mike, I'd like to say happy birthday in advance. And then everyone on here, I see there are a couple of wonderful August born people in the house. Okay, so we're raising our hands to you and wishing you all a happy birthday and a fulfilling year ahead. Okay, so please go ahead and type in your questions. And just as a reminder, there will be the replay email that will be sent out to everybody tomorrow. And the replay email will have today's session and it will have all the previous sessions. In addition to that, the email will have the step-by-step guide on how you can download the workbook, which will help you to practice and implement all that Dr. Mike has been teaching us. Okay? Remember, like Dr. Mike says, the goal is for each of us to become people that run the systems, not people that exist, people that run the systems, not people that are working the systems. Okay, and for you to do that, one of the easiest ways is to implement what Dr. Mike has been teaching us over the past couple of months. Okay, yes. Thank you so much. Please go ahead and type in your questions. Yes, someone is also wishing you happy birthday on YouTube. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. Please type in your questions or please. Okay. And then I'd like to encourage you to please follow our social media handles. I'll be putting those handles very briefly on, I'll be putting them briefly in the chat. They will also be in your emails. They are usually in the emails. So please follow our handles so that we can reach out to wider people. It'd be so good if all of us are at the same time progressing and doing well. It's easier to make an impact in the world that way. So please go ahead and type in your questions. Okay, we haven't got any questions yet for Dr. Mike.
Somebody said it's overwhelming.
Oh.
Don't be overwhelmed. Don't be overwhelmed. It's just a matter of time you get used to these things. This is what people do. It is the secret of success for, a lot of people. That the point is, honestly, a lot of people that knows these things don't share them. Why? Because they want you to work the system for them. That's the truth. So this information that is coming to you for free, trust me, it's not information that is readily shared from time to time where it matters, not into details like this. So do what it will take on your own part to understand it. We are willing to spare more time to take people through, and hold your hands. But then, like I said, I want to see the commitment from your end that you downloaded the workbook, you fill out the workbook, you did your own part, and then you have questions, and then you reach out to us. Then we can arrange more time to now take you through step by step how to get these things in. So everybody will be okay if you can walk your own part. We'll be willing to do our own part to make it, doable for you. It's a foundation one. It's a foundation one cannot run away from in running a successful business. Yes, Julius, you're very correct. Very correct. We cannot run away from this if you want to have a successful business. Success takes work. It takes work, and it takes hard work. So please share. Invite somebody to join so that more and more people can be beneficiaries of this information we're sending out.
Okay. So we haven't got any questions. Yeah. So
Well, somebody said after a workshop like this, if there are no questions, is either everybody understood what you shared or nobody understood what you shared. I want to, maybe we should quickly do a poll question. Is it that everybody understood what I shared or nobody understood anything? Anyways, that was just on the lighter mode. So 2 weeks from today, we'll commence module 3, which will be how to actually implement the business, plan you have developed. That will be another interesting module that we look forward to. All right. So at this point, we would like to bring the workshop to a close since there are no questions. Somebody said 50%, so 50 people understood, 50% did not understand. Well, if there's, those of you, the 50% that feel that they don't understand what I've shared today, we are glad to let you know that this session is recorded, and the email that will come to you, you will be able to play back this session and listen to it again and again and again, and then do your part. Actually, what I've discovered in situations like this is your attempt to try to do what you are told to do, you get better understanding. So if you listen to it the second time and you download your workbook and you try to do exactly what you are taught to do, you'll see how understanding will increase, tremendously. Now, after taking those 2 steps, attending the workshop and listening to it, and then secondly, downloading your workbook and actually work out the steps there. After those 2 steps, if you reach out to me and you say you need help, I will be more than happy to volunteer additional time to take you through. But honestly and truthfully, I will not lie to you. If you have not taken those 2 steps, it's going to be difficult for me to create additional time to want to take you through anything further, because I won't have the impression that you're willing to do your part. So just do your part. We are willing to do more from our end, but at least let's see the commitment from your part that you're willing to even, make use of the information we're sharing. All right. When we play back, can we send questions thereafter? Yeah, play back, and download the workbook and work it, because some of the questions you might want to send after playback, by the time you are working with the workbook that has some step by step, you'll discover that you get the understanding of some of the questions you were even trying to send. However, if you email questions after playback, we can respond back, through email also. But once you do the workbook, then we can actually organize a separate session. All right, it's 15 minutes after 5. Thank you every one of you for your time. I hope you've gotten something useful. Let's work together and see what we'll see ourselves on the other end, where we begin to attend meetings of business owners, meetings of entrepreneurs, and we begin to rejoice that we went through this journey together and we're at this other end, happily. So I wish you a very wonderful weekend, and we look forward to meeting you 2 weeks from now when we will start module 3. All right, bye everyone. Thank you.